There's a moment between your inhale and your exhale that almost no one ever notices. It's the pause where the entire field listens back. Most people rush through it, trying to fill the silence, to fix, to manifest faster. But that gap, that breathless still point, is the access point the quantum world hides in plain sight. It's the mirror that doesn't just reflect your state, it rearranges it. You're here because something in you knows you've been broadcasting noise, trying, forcing, doing the work, and yet reality feels delayed, muted, unresponsive. You've repeated affirmations, visualized, raised your vibration, and still, the mirror seems frozen. What if silence itself is the missing signal? What if the universe has been responding perfectly, but you've been speaking over its reply? This is not about meditating longer or thinking fewer thoughts. It's subtler than that. It's about the observer's breath, the precise moment your awareness meets stillness and your field calibrates to what you actually are. Think of your breath as the mirror between worlds, the inner and the outer, the self and the source. Each exhale wipes the fog. Each inhale brings a clearer reflection. You've felt it before, that strange clarity after you finally stop trying. The relief that appears not because you forced an outcome, but because for 1 second, you became transparent enough to see what was always there. That's not emptiness, that's coherence. And once you learn to listen inside that silence, the mirror starts to move. Because what breathes through you is not just air, it's the field itself, reshaping according to your attention. Let's enter that mirror now. When you truly slow down enough to feel a single breath, not the shallow rhythm of survival, but the full spectrum of inhaling life itself, something extraordinary happens. The mirror turns. In that instant, you stop being the one chasing reflection, and you become the reflection itself, aware, responsive, self-correcting. This is what I call the observer's breath, the bridge between consciousness and creation. Here's how it works. Every thought you have sends ripples through the quantum field, but it's not the thought that manifests. It's the state of the observer behind it. The universe mirrors back not your words, but your coherence. So, when your breath is tight, shallow, scattered, your signal distorts. The mirror fogs. You start to see delays, mixed outcomes, emotional noise. But when your breath slows, when it lengthens and softens, your nervous system sends one message to the field. I'm safe, and safety is the frequency of alignment. Think of silence as the polishing cloth. Each conscious breath wipes away one more layer of distortion, doubt, tension, control, revealing a sharper image of your original template. It's not that you're creating reality in that moment. You're remembering it. Now, notice something subtle. Your breath doesn't belong to you alone. The same air that leaves your lungs enters a tree, a wave, another person. It's the same medium the field uses to transmit resonance. In that sense, every inhale is an upload, every exhale, a broadcast. Let's be precise. This isn't spiritual poetry, it's quantum communication. In physics, the observer effect shows that attention reorganizes probability. But what stabilizes that effect is coherence, the alignment between what you see and what you feel. Breath is how the body enters coherence. Silence is where that coherence amplifies. Most people try to command the mirror. Show me love, show me money, show me proof. But the mirror doesn't obey commands. It obeys reflection. When you stop demanding and simply breathe with awareness, you stop vibrating as someone waiting and start reflecting as someone already aligned. That's the real secret. The observer's breath doesn't manipulate the field. It synchronizes with it. And once that synchronization begins, reality no longer lags behind your intentions. Timelines start collapsing toward the now. But there's one myth that keeps almost everyone from trusting this power. The myth of doing more to manifest faster. And the moment you see through it, everything about your mirror begins to change. We've been trained to believe that the universe rewards effort, that the harder you try, the faster life will bend. But here's the quiet paradox. The more you push, the duller the mirror becomes. Let me show you. A few nights ago, I got a message from someone who'd been trying to manifest a text from a person they loved. They'd done all the techniques, scripting, visualizing, checking their phone every few minutes, breathing shallow, heart racing. Why hasn't it happened yet? They asked. The answer wasn't about timing. It was about the fog. Every act of checking was another handprint on the mirror, another layer of static between their consciousness and the reflection that was already forming. The field wasn't rejecting them. It was waiting for clarity. This is where the myth of doing more collapses. The field doesn't respond to quantity of action. It responds to quality of signal. You could repeat affirmations 1,000 times a day, but if your breath is tense and your awareness is split between faith and fear, the mirror can only return the distortion. Notice how, in that silence after you've done everything, there's a strange discomfort, as if the mind begs to fill the void. That's the precise moment the mirror starts to align, and the ego panics, thinking something's gone wrong. But the truth is, it's the observer's breath recalibrating reality, aligning timelines to your coherence rather than your craving. Think of it like this. When you stare at your reflection too closely, it blurs. You lose perspective. Step back, breathe, and suddenly, the image sharpens. That's what surrender really means in the quantum language. Not giving up, giving space. So, when my friend finally stopped refreshing her phone, she didn't realize she was also refreshing her field. Within hours, she received not just a text, but a message written from an entirely new timeline. One where she no longer radiated absence, but presence. Because silence doesn't delay manifestation. It delivers it. And that's the hidden law most people never grasp. The mirror moves fastest when you are still. But to stay that still, to let your breath meet silence without fleeing back into effort, your body must feel safe enough to trust the reflection. And that's where the real alchemy begins. Your breath is the hinge between the seen and the unseen, and your nervous system is the lock that either opens or seals that door. When your body doesn't feel safe, the mirror can't reflect clearly. Every thought, every intention gets filtered through survival code. Am I safe? Am I loved? Am I enough? The quantum field listens to that question as your broadcast. It sends back more proof that you're still searching for safety. But when you teach your body that silence is not danger, that stillness doesn't mean abandonment, the field begins to change its shape. Your reflection stabilizes. Your desires stop running from you because you've stopped running from yourself. Here's the pivot. Coherence isn't created by the mind, it's felt through the breath. Try this with me right now. A 30-second reset. Close your eyes or soften them. Inhale gently through your nose for a count of 4. Hold for 2. Exhale through the mouth for 6. Feel the release not as letting go of air, but as letting go of resistance. Then pause. Don't rush the next inhale. Let the space breathe you back. That pause, the moment between exhale and inhale, is the mirror clearing itself. It's the exact point where the observer and the observed become one. Each time you practice this, you're sending a new instruction to your nervous system. Silence is safe. Stillness is power. And when your body believes that, your field becomes coherent. Think of coherence as the rhythm of truth. When your heart rate, breath, and awareness synchronize, your electromagnetic field organizes into a stable signal. That signal is what the universe mirrors. Not your words, not your effort, but your embodied frequency of safety. Most people try to manifest from tension, from that buzzing edge of almost there, but the field doesn't translate urgency. It translates resonance. So when you slow your breath, you're not wasting time. You're anchoring the timeline that already holds what you've been seeking. The breath isn't a relaxation trick. It's the quantum password that recodes the body for reception. Because only a regulated nervous system can hold the reflection of a new reality without shattering back into the old one. And when you begin living from that steadiness, when your breath and your being stop contradicting each other, you start to notice something extraordinary. The mirror doesn't just reflect you anymore. It starts to recognize you. And that recognition changes everything about who you believe yourself to be. There's a moment in every journey where the calm you've been practicing starts to feel fragile, like peace that can be easily stolen by a single text, a sudden bill, a glance of comparison. That's the sign you're still relating to coherence as a state, and states fade. Identity doesn't. A state is something you enter, and identity is something you are, and the observer's breath exists to guide you from one to the other. Here's the shift most people never make. They use the breath to find peace instead of to remember they are peace. They breathe to fix the mirror instead of realizing they are the mirror. But once your awareness stabilizes in the truth that your reflection is not a result, it's a revelation. Everything begins to reorder. Let's be precise. When you first slow your breath, you enter temporary coherence. Your nervous system aligns, your energy clears, your thoughts quiet. But the moment you re-identify as the one trying to stay calm, the mirror fogs again. The signal collapses back into separation. The key is embodiment. The breath isn't a tool you use, it's the language your true identity speaks. The field recognizes you not by effort, but by signature. Imagine standing before a mirror. You smile, it smiles. You frown, it frowns. That's how reality mirrors you, not because it's judging you, but because it knows you by reflection. When you inhabit the identity of the one who is already coherent, your breath naturally slows, your choices align, and life adjusts to match. So, the practice is not remember to breathe. It's remember who is breathing. The breath of your future self is already steady, already whole, already synchronized with the rhythm of the field. Each conscious exhale is not creating that self. It's collapsing the illusion that you were ever separate from it. Identity doesn't chase reflection. It becomes reflection. And when you live as the mirror, even silence feels like communication. But there's something remarkable that happens next. Something few people realize until it begins to unfold. When identity stabilizes, timelines begin to shift, not gradually, instantly. It's as though the mirror, sensing you've stopped oscillating between versions of yourself, suddenly aligns all reflections into one clear image. And what that image reveals changes everything you thought you knew about destiny. When your identity settles, when you stop reaching and start being, the mirror stops fragmenting. What we call timelines are simply multiple reflections waiting for one consistent observer to stabilize their gaze. Every possible future already exists in the quantum field. Infinite mirrors, each holding a version of you. The one who hesitates, the one who thrives, the one who's already living the life you keep glimpsing in flashes of intuition. And each breath you take decides which reflection you're standing in front of. This isn't metaphorical, it's vibrational geometry. The field doesn't care about your past. It responds to the frequency of who you believe you are right now. Let me show you through something ordinary. A man I once coached was preparing for a job interview he'd been waiting on for months. Every morning he'd wake up tense, rehearsing, doubting, calculating how he might prove himself. His body broadcasted fear. His breath was clipped. When I asked him to pause and breathe, 4 in, 6 out, with silence in between, I said, "Don't breathe to calm down. Breathe to become the version of you who already belongs in that position." He practiced this the night before the interview. He stopped rehearsing answers. He sat in silence and let the mirror reflect the identity of his future self, the one already inside the building, already welcomed, already chosen. The next morning, something shifted. He didn't walk into that interview to impress. He walked in to confirm. The mirror had moved. And that's what happens when identity locks in. Timelines collapse toward coherence. The outer world rearranges to sustain the reflection you've accepted. Notice what's really happening here. Not magic, but resonance. When your breath, emotion, and attention harmonize, the quantum field recognizes you as one fixed coordinate. It routes probability around your steadiness. You stop chasing possibilities. Possibilities orbit you. It's not that the better timeline finally appeared. It was always there, waiting for your consistency to bring it into focus. That's the quiet power of identity. It's not louder, it's clearer. But here's where most people stumble next. After the first glimpse of alignment, they forget to sustain it. They slip back into the old self, thinking the mirror turned away. It didn't. They did. So the question becomes, how do you keep your reflection stable when life tests your coherence? For that, you need a practice, a living protocol to anchor the breath, the body, and the field into one steady mirror. You've seen how identity selects the reflection. Now it's time to stabilize it. Because coherence isn't something you achieve once. It's something you continually embody. The mirror doesn't need constant correction. It needs consistent presence. Here's a compact field alignment protocol you can begin using today. 4 steps. Simple, physical, quantum. 1. The anchor breath place. 1 hand over your heart, 1 over your lower abdomen. Inhale through the nose for 4 counts, feeling both hands rise at the same time, chest and belly moving together. Exhale for 6 counts through the mouth, letting your body soften. At the end of the exhale, pause. Let silence hover. That pause is the mirror clearing itself. Repeat 5 times, or until your pulse steadies. 2. The mirror check. Now, with eyes closed, picture your reality as a calm surface of water. Ask silently, what reflection am I broadcasting right now? Don't try to fix it, just notice. The awareness alone adjusts the signal. When you witness without judgment, the reflection aligns to truth automatically. 3. The embodied declaration. Open your eyes. Speak. softly, but with full presence. A sentence that defines the identity you've chosen. I breathe as my future self. I stand in the timeline of clarity. Feel the words vibrate through your chest, not your throat. Let your body become the speaker for your field. The quantum mirror registers the declaration through sensation, not volume. 4. The microsilence throughout the day. Whenever you catch yourself tightening, scrolling, overthinking, rushing, pause for a single conscious breath. Don't label it as a break. See it as a recalibration. One breath, one mirror reset. Each time you're reminding reality. I'm still here, still coherent. When practiced consistently, these micro-silences begin to thread together. The gaps between effort shrink. The mirror remains polished even in motion. I've seen people transform their entire energy field in days using this rhythm, not by adding more rituals, but by letting breath, awareness, and identity merge into one loop of recognition. And here's the beautiful paradox. The quieter your practice, the louder your results. Because in a universe made of mirrors, the still reflection commands the light. Let's make this living right now. In the comments, write, I breathe as my future self. Let the quantum field register your declaration, not as a wish, but as a signature. Next, we'll go deeper into the hidden saboteurs that shake this steadiness, the subtle ways urgency and over-control distort the mirror, and how to spot them before they pull you out of coherence. Every time you start reflecting clearly, the mirror tests your steadiness, not because it's cruel, but because coherence must prove itself through contrast. The universe doesn't ask, are you aligned? It whispers, can you stay aligned when the old noise returns? There are 3 common saboteurs that appear the moment your frequency starts to stabilize. See them early, and they lose their power. First, urgency. The impulse that says it's working but not fast enough. You feel the old pull, checking results, comparing progress, looking for proof. But urgency isn't movement, it's static. It fogs the mirror because it tells the field, I don't trust the timing. And the field mirrors trust, not timelines. When you notice that itch to rush, practice a slow exhale instead. Every long exhale rewrites the signal from chasing to choosing. Second, split signals. You say, I'm ready for expansion, but your breath says, I'm bracing for disappointment. You visualize abundance but clench your jaw. The field listens to the coherence of the system, not the surface of the sentence. To unify the split, use awareness as glue. Ask yourself, does my body agree with what my mind is asking for? If not, pause. Let the breath soften until both voices match. That alignment, mind, body, field, is what transmits truth. Third, over-control. This one hides behind discipline. It looks like responsibility, structure, making it happen. But beneath it is fear of surrender, the terror that if you release control, everything will unravel. In truth, the opposite happens. The mirror doesn't distort when you relax, it reflects faster. Control slows the signal because it adds friction between the observer and the field. Here's how to recognize it. When your breath shortens or your shoulders tighten, you've slipped into micro-control. In that moment, drop the effort. Place your hand over your heart and whisper, the mirror knows. Feel what happens. A quiet recalibration, as if reality exhales with you. Remember, the quantum field doesn't punish incoherence. It simply echoes it. Every distorted signal is a message from the mirror saying, realign here. And when you learn to read those signals as invitations instead of failures, you stop fighting your own reflection. Because obstacles are not blocks. They're mirrors too, revealing where you've stopped breathing truth. Soon you'll see how to bring this awareness into ordinary life, not just in meditation or silence, but while walking, eating, speaking. Because coherence isn't meant to be practiced in stillness alone. It's meant to be lived. And when you start living it, the mirror doesn't wait for your rituals anymore. It becomes your every breath. At first, coherence feels like a practice. Later, it becomes a pulse, something that hums through everything you do. The goal isn't to escape the noise of the world, but to move within it without losing the rhythm of your breath. You can start anywhere because the mirror meets you wherever awareness appears. When you walk, let each step be an exhale. Don't drift into thought. Feel gravity holding you. With each stride, you're telling the field, I belong here. The ground becomes your witness. When you eat, slow down for a single conscious breath before the first bite. Instead of thinking about nutrition or guilt, notice the vibration of gratitude rising through your chest. That single second of stillness changes your chemistry. and the mirror reads that shift as abundance. When you speak, especially in tension or disagreement, inhale before answering. That pause isn't weakness, it's calibration. The breath keeps your frequency coherent while words bridge timelines. You'll notice how conversations soften, as if others unconsciously mirror your calm. They do. The field communicates through resonance, not argument. Even in motion, silence can exist inside you. Think of it as an invisible chamber within your breath, a quiet dimension that never leaves, even when life becomes loud. Every time you touch that inner stillness, you rejoin the frequency of your future self. Soon, you won't need to remember to breathe. You'll find the breath remembering you, guiding, correcting, stabilizing. The body becomes an instrument of attunement, constantly tuning itself to the next timeline of clarity. This is how reality starts bending quietly. The bill still arrives, but your body doesn't panic. The text still delays, but your energy doesn't contract. You remain coherent, and coherence magnetizes alignment faster than urgency ever could. That's why the observer's breath isn't just spiritual hygiene, it's quantum hygiene. It keeps your field clear enough for new possibilities to lock in. So as you move through your day, test this truth. You can stay in coherence even in chaos. You can breathe inside noise and still access silence. Because the field doesn't live in the mountains or the meditation room. It lives in the middle of your next conversation, your next challenge, your next inhale. And just when you think you've reached the limit of what this breath can do, when daily life feels integrated and stable, something greater begins to stir. A pull beyond comfort, a whisper that coherence was never the destination, it was only the doorway. And what waits beyond that doorway will change how you see every relationship, every act of creation, every cell of your being. Once your breath becomes the mirror, life stops being a series of problems to solve and starts becoming a field of reflections to explore. You begin noticing coherence not as something you keep, but as something that extends, touching every domain of your existence. Relationships shift first. The more you breathe from still awareness, the less you react from stored tension. Conversations stop looping through old wounds. You notice pauses where there used to be arguments. The silence that once felt like distance now feels like connection. Two mirrors recognizing each other. Love stops being an exchange of needs and becomes a resonance of frequencies. Then creativity awakens. The ideas that used to come only in flashes begin to flow steadily. When your breath is coherent, inspiration doesn't visit, it inhabits. You stop chasing originality and start listening to what's already whispering through the field. Every inhale becomes an invitation. Every exhale, an offering. And then comes the body. Physical health isn't separate from quantum alignment. It's a mirror of it. As your breath deepens, your cells register that safety. Your heartbeat stabilizes, digestion smooths, inflammation decreases, not through force, but through harmony. The body begins to breathe you, not the other way around. Let's make this real. One woman wrote to me after practicing the observer's breath for 21 days. She'd been struggling with chronic anxiety and creative paralysis, a musician who hadn't written a song in months. Each night she did the simple 4 in, 6 out breath and let herself rest in the silence that followed. On day 10, she described feeling pulled to her piano without intention. What came out wasn't effort, it was memory. A song she didn't write, but remembered from a timeline where she'd already healed. That's what happens when coherence expands. Creativity becomes remembrance. Purpose, too, shifts form. You stop asking, what am I meant to do? And start feeling, who am I meant to be right now? Purpose isn't a task. It's a frequency that unfolds through embodiment. When your identity and breath move as one, destiny reveals itself through synchronicity. The right people, ideas, and opportunities reflecting back the signal of your clarity. Expansion is not about doing more. It's about broadcasting further. And just when you begin to see how this breath touches everything, relationships, art, health, purpose, something even more profound arises. A realization that the mirror isn't just responding to you, it's remembering you. And that remembrance carries a spiritual gravity, a pull back to the source that has been breathing through you all along. There's a point where the breath stops feeling like yours. You begin to sense that something vast, intelligent, loving has been breathing through you the entire time. What you once called silence now feels alive, aware, responsive. It's not an empty pause, it's presence itself. This is the spiritual dimension of the observer's breath, realizing that the mirror you've been polishing isn't outside you, and it isn't just within you either. It's you as the field. Every inhale becomes communion. Every exhale, a prayer written in frequency. You no longer have to ask the universe for alignment. You recognize that you are the universe aligning itself into form. The separation between creator and creation dissolves. This is what mystics meant by union, and what quantum physics calls entanglement. Your consciousness and the field are no longer two things interacting. They are one pattern recognizing itself from different perspectives. When you reach this awareness, something paradoxical happens. The need to manifest disappears, and everything begins to manifest effortlessly, because the mirror, now completely clear, no longer distinguishes between you and source. Every reflection becomes a direct expression of the same intelligence. It's not about transcendence or escape. It's about remembering that surrender is not passive. It's the highest form of participation. When you let go into the breath, you're not losing control. You're returning to the rhythm that designed control in the first place. Notice what that feels like. The breath softens, but your awareness sharpens. The silence hums with direction. You start receiving impulses, small, precise nudges, to call someone, write something, move somewhere. Those impulses are source breathing you into the next reflection. And in those moments, even the challenges become sacred choreography. The missed opportunity, the delay, the heartbreak, they all reveal themselves as perfect refractions of your evolution, each one teaching your nervous system how to hold a wider field of light. That's why true surrender isn't collapse. It's coherence at its highest voltage. Trust so complete that the entire field reorganizes around your stillness. Because when you no longer need to manipulate the mirror, you become the light shining through it. And from that place, destiny stops being a destination. It becomes a rhythm, the inhale and exhale of the infinite breathing through your form. Now, as we approach the end of this initiation, there's one final step, one realization that ties everything, the silence, the breath, the mirror, into a single, living truth. It's the moment where observation and creation finally merge. And once you feel it, you'll never breathe the same way again. Take one breath right now. Slow, conscious, intentional. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth, and notice what's happening. You're not pulling air from outside, you're exchanging awareness. You're standing between worlds, the observer and the observed, and the mirror is breathing with you. Every timeline you've ever longed for still exists, shimmering inside that breath. Every version of you that felt distant was never waiting, just vibrating at the clarity of this stillness. You don't have to reach for them anymore. You meet them here. The observer's breath was never about slowing down. It was about remembering the language of the quantum field, silence. The field doesn't hear words. It hears coherence. And coherence sounds like breath softened by trust. When you breathe from that place, the mirror no longer reflects effort or doubt. It reflects truth. And truth always shows you who you've been becoming all along. This is what access granted really means. Not permission from something outside, but recognition from something within. The source code isn't hidden in the stars or sacred texts. It's written in the rhythm of your inhale and the quiet between exhales. That's where destiny listens. So, as you move beyond this transmission, remember, every moment of silence is a doorway. Every breath is an activation key. You're not waiting for reality to catch up. Reality is waiting for you to breathe it into form. Now anchor this in the field. Write in the comments, I am the mirror, breathing source into form. Let that declaration ripple across timelines. Let it signal your arrival, not as the seeker of reflection, but as the reflection itself. Because the moment you breathe as the observer, the universe exhales as you.